All right, heading for the stage now is a regular who hosts at clubs and colleges all across the country. Please give it up for Elizabeth Norman.
Hello, how's it going out there? Woo, a lot of people here tonight. This is really exciting. Can I get a round of applause if it's the first time that you're coming to a show here? That's a lot of people. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. That's awesome. I'm hosting the show tonight. I'm wondering too if is anyone here from Baltimore? I'm from Baltimore too. I grew up in Baltimore. I live there now. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I find sometimes people will ask me very silly questions about Baltimore. Does anyone else get some silly questions? A couple silly, oh yeah, silly questions about Baltimore. One that I get a lot, one that people will ask me is, Baltimore, is it like The Wire? And I'm like, oh, thank you for asking me, a person who would definitely know. Thanks so much for asking if it's like The Wire. The Wire, of course, that's what a lot of people know about Baltimore, right? A lot of people that aren't around here, that's all they see on TV. The Wire is an HBO show, not a documentary set in Baltimore. It's about drugs, crime, crooked cops, and you're like, okay, well that happens in Baltimore sometimes. Kind of a lot of the time, yeah, that's kind of accurate in some ways. It's accurate to some parts of Baltimore, but, you know, Baltimore has a lot going on. Baltimore is also like Step Up. Or Step Up to the Streets, depending on your neighborhood. And Step Up, if you don't remember, that's a dance film set in Baltimore, where a young white man introduces a young white woman to hip-hop. And that happens somewhere in Baltimore every day. So it's actually really serious. Got a lot happening here. It's been interesting. I don't know if you've been hearing about what's going on with our mayor in Baltimore. I was here last night and I told that joke and I started that joke and someone shouted out, which one? And I was like, thanks, yeah. I was in DC too and I was like, have you heard about what's going on with our mayor? And they were like, your mayor smoked crack. And I was like, that was your mayor, actually. Our mayors just steal stuff mostly. Our mayor recently, not that long ago, I think it was like maybe 2 months now, our mayor put out a statement where he said, in order to deal with all the gun violence that we have in Baltimore, he thinks we should build a giant boxing ring and let everyone punch each other until they're not mad anymore. And I wish that was a joke, but it's like a real thing you could look up. It's in the news, like it happened, he said that. And that's such an interesting strategy, right? I like it in some ways because it's kind of funny to me, you know, because he's not even our real mayor, he's like our substitute mayor, because our real mayor is under investigation by the FBI. And I feel like he's bringing a real substitute teacher energy to the whole project. Like, where in the handbook does it say the kids can punch each other until they're not mad anymore? And he's like, I didn't read the handbook. And I'm not going to, you know? Like, that's the kind of energy that we have right now. It's fun. It's like a great time to be alive. I love it. It's been interesting too. People have had a lot to say about Baltimore recently. A lot to say about our rats in Baltimore. So I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about rats like this? Fine. I have a stance on rats, and I'm going to say yes, we have a lot of rats in Baltimore. And yes, they are huge. And I am proud of them, because they worked hard to get that way. You know what I mean? We've got some hard-working rats in the city of Baltimore doing their best, getting enormous. It's amazing. I think it's really fun to me. I definitely feel like it gives me a misplaced sense of confidence. Like when I go to other cities, sometimes I'll be a little nervous at first. Like I'll be like, ooh, I don't know people here. I'm kind of nervous. I don't know what's going to happen. But then I'll see their rats, and I'll be like, no, your rats are too small. You know what I mean? Like, you've got no power over me. You know? I feel like it's like the city version of like my dad could beat up your dad. It's like, but our rats could eat your rats. They could swallow them whole, you know? It's kind of what we're working with here in Baltimore. It's sort of fun. It's cool. Baltimore is actually, it's a really interesting city. We have a lot happening in Baltimore. One of the things that we've got, because we're so close to DC, right, that we get some of the runoff of the national things. Like most of the national things, like National Portrait Gallery, National Gallery of Art, National Postal Museum, I don't know, they've got a lot of stuff, but they've got a lot of things in DC, but in Baltimore we also have like the National Aquarium. Got it, we're not gonna give that one back, you know? It's gorgeous, it's like a jewel in the harbor, amazing. Honestly, a little bit too easy of a place to abduct a child. I feel like it's just too dark for too long, it makes me nervous. Like, watch kids, like, okay. I'm gonna just like pick that up, put it back down again. I'm gonna keep talking because we have one thing, and I don't know if you guys know about this. I'm really excited about it. We have the National Dentistry Museum. Can you believe? Can you believe they let us get away with that? Like, who was asleep at the job the day that Baltimore got the National Dentistry Museum? Suckers, you know? I'm excited about it. It's crazy because in the National Dentistry Museum, which I will repeat is in Baltimore, in the National Dentistry Museum, we have a set of George Washington's fake teeth. And that's just a real fact. That's a real thing that we have. So for me, I've got a lot of questions. Number one, obviously, how did we get so lucky? Number two, how did we get those teeth? You know what I mean? Like, who took them? You know? Because I do feel like that would be a very Baltimore way to start a museum. It's just being like, look, I've got a national treasure. Don't ask me where it came from. It's ours now. We're not going to give it back. I don't care who's asking. Tell them they can go home. So you just have those. I think it's, I can't wait to go see them. I'm excited. I'm really having an exciting time right now. I was walking recently in Baltimore, and I was like, whoa, this has been such a good walk. No one has yelled at me yet. And then immediately someone yelled at me. And that's the thing too, is people have different reactions to getting like catcalled or yelled at. Like some people are like, look, you need to turn around and you need to yell. And you need to let them know that it's 2019, you can't just yell at people on the street anymore. You know what I mean? You need to back off. Even if it's a positive thing, yelling at people is scary. We don't like it, cut it out. For me, I'm like, look, I don't know who's talking to me. I don't want to get involved. But also, most of the time, I don't know who they're talking to. You know? They're like, hey, beautiful. Who's to say I'm the beautiful one? So many beautiful women out here on these streets. It could be anybody. Yeah, clap for the beautiful women out here on these streets. Very nice. It could be anybody. What this man said, though, was, hey, you got no butt. And I was like, all right, that one is for me. I'm not confused about who you're talking to, unfortunately. How dare I, really? How dare I walk without a butt and just think I could get away with it? You know? Kind of criminal mastermind do I think I am? It's tough. Cause you know, it's tough for me. I know I have a butt, right? I know I have a butt, but I don't have enough of a butt to get into an argument about it and feel confident that I'm gonna win, you know? I don't have an irrefutable ass. That's what I'm working with. It's already been refuted in this conversation, you know? And I'm doing my best, but it's going to take a little while. So I do feel like if scientists were studying my butt, they'd be like, I'm sorry. It's within the standard deviation of butt. Statistically, we can't prove your butt exists, which means it doesn't, technically. So the real problem in Baltimore is we have too many scientists walking around just shouting their findings at women. And that's why I think we should shut down Johns Hopkins. I think that they have done enough. Just kidding. We can't do that. Our whole economy would collapse. The biggest employer in the state. It would be a problem. Guys, this is those have been my jokes. I hope you liked them. My name is Elizabeth Norman. I'm going to be your host this evening. Before I bring up your feature, I'm going to say that at each of